Yeah, we are excited, obviously. World Cup.
The Rugby World Cup.
World Cup. Rugby World Cup.
The Rugby World Cup.
World Cup.
The World Cup.
The Rugby World Cup.
The World Cup.
Rugby.
The World Cup.
Rugby.
No. Let me help you. It's Rugby.
Different. I've got a face.
It is here. The Rugby World Cup starts in
3 days, 4 hours, 43 minutes and 54 seconds.
4 extremely loaded years have passed since Japan and South Africa start their title defense this weekend. Week 1 of France 2023 has 8 games for us to ignore our families over, starting on Friday and ending on Sunday. So then what is the game of the week? I just cannot look past the opening match. France versus New Zealand. 2 of the best teams over the last 4 years take each other on in the very first match of the tournament. Hopefully we'll get to see the clashes of Woki versus Barrett and Ramos versus Barrett and maybe even Dante versus Barrett. Whatever the teams, I will also be watching to see the fans turn that stadium into a heaving mass of noise and excitement. Like me. France will obviously be hoping to open the tournament with a nice win to keep the fans excited and engaged. They have lost some real ballast in Bai and Willemse, so the pack is not looking as fearsome. Luckily, the loss of Intermac has been less traumatizing, as Jalibert and Dupont played together very nicely against Australia. The All Blacks are fully in Blacklash mode, though it might be a little tougher to get up since they are also missing big boys like Retallick and Lomax and Frizzell for the opener. I am sorta leaning towards the ABs, but that might just be years of conditioning through pain that's talking. That is the lineup for the main dance floor. Is there a game for us rugby perverts though? Preferably in an abandoned shipyard covered in rusty nails. What is the game for the geek? I was going to say Japan versus Chile, mainly to mention Kazuki Himeno's return as captain to the big show, or to point out Chile's debut at the tournament. But I think even currently shite Japan should win that pretty easily. Wales versus Fiji on the other hand. Now that is a tasty prospect late after the Sunday braai. Fiji is coming off a landmark win at Twickenham and look ready to inflict renewed World Cup pain on Wales. Under new coach Raiwa Louis, Fiji have a more patient and structured game, and they have an excellent kicker in Caleb Muntz. No longer do they only play miracle ball rugby, which they still can do, they also have a maul now. Wales will not have played for 3 weeks and they lost heavily last time out against the Box. They know all too well that they cannot put out the same bunch of inexperienced players against Fiji. To survive Pool C, the more illustrious sides will have to be switched on almost all the time now. And that will be the game for us nerds. In between those 2 games, we've got Italy up against Namibia, which should end with Italy topping Pool A after week 1. Ireland opens their campaign against Romania, and that will probably end in a nice spreadable Romanian paste for us all to enjoy. Australia face Georgia in another kind of game for us nerds, though I do think Australia should take this one. Surely Eddie can't go 6-0. Saturday's main event sees England take on Argentina. And I think Argentina can take this one. They are under less pressure and their backline actually knows how to pass and run. Japan and Chile start off Sunday's games, and as mentioned earlier, Japan should take this one, even against everyone's favourite Chile. Then the defending champion Springboks take on currently hotshot Scotland. After the 3rd of August, I was sweating bullets about this game. Could Scotland really take on the Boks and beat them at the World Cup? Will the magic of Finn and partners run the Boks ragged? My boys were playing so bad back then. I was worried. But since then, the Springbok pack has turned into that dog in that old video game. The addition of Klein and Archia as bench partners is unfair really. And Kolisi's aura is adding +5 to his teammates' rugby stats every time he plays. It's hard to run the Boks off their feet if your ball is stuck in a ruck that looks like the opening of a furnace. Boks to win that one because I am a biased piggy. I hope everyone has stocked up on their beers and snacks, and don't forget to make your Super Brew or fantasy picks on time. We are about to enter Rugby Nirvana. There is news to talk about. It seems the injury demise of Jonathan Dante has been greatly exaggerated. The French bunker buster has been seen training with the first team this week, just before the game against New Zealand. Every French fan will be hoping he's ready for the game on Friday. Their attack just looks so much better when he is atomizing opposing 10s on the crash ball. France's gain might be New Zealand's loss, as his opposite number, Mr. Geordie Barrett, has been sitting out training due to a pesky knee niggle, an open, hairy knee because it's warm here. Geordie has been playing a lot of 12 since Quinn Tupaia was injured by that mug Darcy Swain last year, but luckily they have an able backup in Anton Linnett-Brown, and also David Avili is there. Oh yeah, finally, the most controversial thing that's happened before the start of this World Cup. No, not the actually convicted racist being called up to the French squad in place of Paul Willemse. It is the team welcoming ceremonies and the terrible state of the suits. I understand. It is very hard to tailor anything for people who look like bags filled with bowling balls. Harder even than seeing someone from a different race as being a human with feelings just like you. But get the trouser lengths correct at least. Besides all the bad tailoring, what makes it look even worse is all the hands covering the balls poses. The only reason you were ever told to keep your hands out of your pockets by teachers was because it was too cool for school and they felt threatened. Probably not as threatened as Yannick felt after he was called a slur and then punched super hard in the mouth by Bastian. This is all on record. Sometimes I wish we could all work together to change rugby's image from being uncool and stuffy and filled with Viagra ads to something filled with heroes that are all over GQ covers and humanitarian campaigns. But that is enough fashion advice for this week's Rugby Update. I will see you all next week when we are fully into the Rugby World Cup. Yay!